from Scripture. We'll talk sola fide, sola scriptura, and keys of the kingdom. There were two pillars that the Protestants based their revolt against Rome: sola fide and sola scriptura. Sola fide, faith alone. Whenever the question of faith alone comes up, it's always referred to in St. Paul's Epistle to the Romans, chapter 3, verse 28, where this was the basic verse that Martin Luther used to set the faith alone in motion. Sola fide is unscriptural. St. Paul nowhere in his writings indicated that faith alone is your salvation. What ended up happening is, Martin Luther let his theological convictions conflict with the verse that he was using to choose to follow rather than the Catholic Church. What he did when he translated the Bible into German, at the end of justified, which means saved, he put justified alone by faith, apart from works of the law. Now, the Catholic Church is always, in reference to faith and good works, is always referred to James's letter, St. James's letter, where he says, faith of itself does not have works, is dead. And see how a person is saved by works and not by faith alone. The Church has always referenced those. Going back to Paul, in his letters to the Corinthians, in the start of his description of the qualities of love, what love is, he starts this: if I speak in human and angelic tongues, but do not have love, I am a sounding gong and a clashing cymbal. That does not refer to you guys, because you guys have love. Okay? So what he says, if you've got all this ability and you don't have love, you have nothing. In his letter to the Ephesians, it is by grace that you've been saved. In other words, we are saved by the grace of God. Okay? What he is saying is, we are saved by the grace of God alone, which we respond through faith, working in love. Sola scriptura, Scripture alone, the other battle cry, that was the other battle cry for the Protestants. In a rather, in his second letter to Timothy, he says all Scripture is inspired by God and is useful for teaching, etc., etc. He doesn't say only Scripture, he says all Scripture. Then Paul, in his letters to the Thessalonians, says, stand firm and hold fast to your traditions. And if you see a brother who conducts himself in a disorderly way, not according to the tradition received from us. So he's in his letters to the Thessalonians, he says, hold to your traditions also. He also says in his first letter to Timothy that the Church of the Living God is the pillar and foundation of truth. So what Paul has said is Scripture, tradition, and the Church. The Bible supports the Catholic principle: Church, Scripture, and tradition. Keys of the Kingdom. This is a rather, I'm sure you've seen or have heard or read in Matthew, where Jesus establishes his church. He says, you are Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. And I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. Whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven. What you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. He gets the concept of the keys of the kingdom from the book of Isaiah, where Hezekiah was the king king of the southern kingdom at the time Isaiah was prophesying. Eliakim succeeded Sheba, or however you pronounce his name, as master of the palace, and the symbol of his authority in the palace were the keys of the kingdom, or the keys of the house of David. He was the prime minister of the southern kingdom. In Matthew's gospel, he emphasizes Jesus' role as son of David, king of Israel, sent by the Father to establish the kingdom of heaven. And by entrusting to Peter the keys of the kingdom, Jesus establishes the office of prime minister for administering the church as the kingdom on earth. The keys are a symbol of Peter's office and primacy to be handed down to his successor as it has been handed down through the ages. That's a blank. The Bible documents the beginning of the Roman Catholic Church. So in Scripture alone, you can't justify sola fide, you can't justify Scripture alone, and obviously it documents the beginning of the Catholic Church.
All right.